we're going to talk about the fact that apparently multiple Republicans in Congress want to investigate the NFL and NBC over Bad Bunny's halftime show performance. I know some people didn't like it. Some people don't think it should have been in Spanish. There's certainly valid critiques or complaints to have about it. But like I said yesterday, I just don't think it's the end of the world or that big a deal. And I certainly don't think it's something that warrants throwing anybody behind bars or investigations by the federal government. But apparently, multiple Republican members of Congress, old enough to remember when Republicans were the free speech warriors, the limited government crusaders. Well, apparently now they are demanding that the feds play profanity police and investigate NFL, NBC, and Bad Bunny for the horrifying, deeply triggering performance that Bad Bunny gave at the halftime show. Here is the first tweet. I love this so much because it's like we are truly living in alternate realities. Congressman Andy Ogles, who's a Republican, wrote in a tweet, "Last night's halftime show was a disgrace and it mocked American families. Depicting gay pornography on prime time has no place in our culture." Did I just miss that part of the halftime show? Where gay pornography was depicted? I've watched it once live in real time, and then once again I watched it in full on YouTube, and I must have just missed the gay porn part. I mean, maybe you had a different browser tab open, my dude, and you got them mixed up. I don't know, but that didn't happen. There was like 1 2-second clip where two dudes were like dancing on each other in a suggestive manner, but that is not gay pornography. Words do have meanings, and that nothing that was broadcast comes remotely close to gay pornography. And like, God forbid we expect our leaders and our elected representatives to not make wildly false factual statements. Now, the second part of his tweet is also kind of funny to me. The Bad Bunny performance is conclusive proof that Puerto Rico should never be a state. I don't have a particular deep inclination or position on Puerto Rican statehood, but like, you're telling me a halftime performance by one dude is conclusive proof one way or the other? I don't really see how that would be the case. Even if it was a horrible performance with a terrible message that was deeply upsetting and anti-American and everything that they say it is, it would still just represent one person, and it wouldn't actually settle more profound questions about, taxation without representation and civic and constitutional obligations to different territories. It's like the idea that you could really settle a complicated question like that by looking at a halftime show performance, I don't understand. And I just really believe that whether it's Jasmine Crockett and all the far left goofballs and doofuses that we have in Congress, or it's these Republican pick-me's who they really just want to get attention. They do these kind of things. They put out these statements intentionally to go viral, to get invited on Newsmax, and maybe to get Dear Daddy Trump to notice them. I really do think it's all pathetic and that we deserve a government run by semi-serious people, but we absolutely do not have it at the moment, and unfortunately have not for some time. Next, I'll show you a post from Congressman Randy Fine from Florida. He wrote on X, "You can't say the F word on live TV. Bad Bunny's disgusting halftime show was illegal. Had he said these lyrics and all the other disgusting and pornographic filth in English on live TV, the broadcast would have been pulled down and the fines would have been enormous. Puerto Ricans are Americans and we all live by the same rules. We are sending Brendan Carr of the FCC chairman, a letter calling for dramatic action, including fines and broadcast license reviews against the NFL, NBC, and Bad Bunny. Lock them up." There's so much to unpack here from Randy, who is one of the most unhinged Republican members of Congress without fail. Lock them up is a strange conclusion to this post, because we're not talking about criminal laws. Obviously, there are FCC regulations about what can and cannot be broadcast on certain airwaves that are regulated by the FCC. And we can have that conversation about whether rules were violated or not. Spoiler alert, he's not. He's wrong about some of the facts of the situation, but we can have that conversation. But those are civil regulations with fines and penalties. They are not criminal laws. So no one is getting locked up or going to jail. That doesn't even make sense. Is it too? I come back to this basic request that you like spew whatever like radical takes you want, but just try to make sense so I can at least keep up with you while I'm responding. But some of y'all aren't even coherent to the point where it's easy to discuss your ideas because or to evaluate their merits because they're not even sensical. Like they are internally contradictory or don't even make sense at face value. Like you can say that Bad Bunny's performance was vulgar, that the dancing was very suggestive, that some of the lyrics were vulgar. You can't say there was gay porn broadcast on national TV because we all watched it and some of us have seen gay porn. And I can tell you, that's not what it looks like, my dude. You also, so that was for the first congressman, and then for Randy Fine to say, lock them up. That's just not how anything works, bro. And I feel like a member of Congress should know that. And then he did this thing, which a lot of Republicans and conservatives are doing online, and it's really frustrating to me because it's just not engaging in this. You can take issue with the actual words that Bad Bunny sung, but instead, like, and I'll put this tweet on screen from Randy Fine, they're screenshotting lyrics of his songs from a lyric website, and then they are saying that's what was sung at the Super Bowl, and they're showing all these very explicit verses. But the thing is that that's not what was sung at the Super Bowl. Those are verses from the songs, but the lyrics for the Super Bowl were adapted. Only parts of these songs were actually sung as part of medleys, and the lyrics were changed in many of these cases to be less explicit and not include. So they're using all these screenshots as evidence that he supposedly broke the FCC's broadcast rules and that these networks should be fined and investigated and apparently people should be sent to jail or what have you. But they're not even showing the actual translation of the halftime show. They're showing lyric pages for the songs and how their lyrics are if you just were to go listen to them on Spotify or whatever. But that's not how they were performed at the halftime show, which is what matters. And we have an actual full translation of the halftime show lyrics as they were performed. And I went and read it this morning. It's way less vulgar, way, 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 way less vulgar than all of the screenshots of the explicit lyrics that people are sharing. So you have to evaluate what was actually said if you're actually approaching this with even a modicum of good faith or seriousness, but they are not. And even then, a lot of the F words in the lyrics that were sung, he didn't pronounce, or he pulled the mic away at that moment or other things. So I have to say that I highly doubt NBC and ABC or the corporations that broadcast this wouldn't have pre-cleared the performance with their lawyers and wouldn't have made sure that it complies with the FCC regulations. They do this all the time. And unless Bad Bunny went rogue and decided to say a bunch of things, but he kind of clearly didn't because he did omit most of the most explicit verses of these songs, then the idea that they violated these regulations seems absurd to me. And you're just calling on the government to investigate a performance you don't like, which does not seem very limited government or free speechy to me. Call me crazy. And I'll just read you. So Andy Ogles posted this on X and also attached a letter. The Apple Music Super Bowl LX halftime show was pure smut, brazenly aired on national television for every American family to witness. Let's pause on that for a moment. Pure smut is a bit much. And brazenly aired on national television for every American family to witness. I find this interesting because people you don't have to watch the halftime show. And parents and families that feel that it is inappropriate, and we've seen every year that it has suggestive dancing and lyrics, so it's not a surprise, right? They can turn it off at halftime. They can change the channel for 20 minutes. There's just a lack of agency here that seems very out of keeping with what conservatives I always encountered believed, which is that it's not the government's job to parent your children, it's your job, right? And here she's saying, like, well, the government has to step in and protect people from seeing a racy performance on TV, or parents could take the initiative. If they don't want to see their kids, if they don't want their kids to see it, they could change to the channel or turn it off, or change to the Turning Point USA halftime show. And I have no problem with them doing that. I think it's a free country and people should choose the alternatives that best suit their preferences and needs, right? But you're trying to say that this is an issue the government needs to regulate and investigate and protect people. And that is very nanny state-esque and really more reminiscent of the rhetoric you traditionally saw from progressive lawmakers and politicians. But everything's changing, I guess. Anyway, children were forced to endure. This is back quoting from Andy Ogles here. Explicit displays of gay sexual acts, women gyrating provocatively, oh no, and Bad Bunny shamelessly grabbing his crotch while dry humping the air. I mean, there were no explicit displays of gay sexual acts. Like, words have meaning, and there was nothing. The 2-second clip where two guys are rubbing against each other behind a car door does not meet the definition of an explicit. That's a word with meaning. Display of a gay sexual act. Yeah, no. And then I love this idea that, like, oh my God, how could they broadcast women gyrating provocatively on national television? It's like, dude, I'm sorry. If you don't want to participate in modern society, if you want to be Amish, like, go move to an Amish community and throw out your television. But like the level of suggestive dancing at the Bad Bunny halftime show of these women gyrating, they just forced me to stare at these big booty Latinas twerking. It's like, it wasn't particularly scandalous or that much crazier than, actually, I thought it was less suggestive and less vulgar than many years past halftime shows. And again, it's like, you knew this. You knew that that's how the shows are, so you could have turned it off. You could have flipped the channel. And I just don't buy this helpless victim narrative that your children were tied to the couch and forced to watch these women gyrating, like, as if parents have no agency or ability to control what their children watch. I don't believe that for a second. And here's the part where Representative Andy Ogles just lies. He writes, and if that weren't outrageous enough, the performance's lyrics openly glorified sodomy and countless other unspeakable depravities. These flagrant, indecent acts are illegal to be displayed on public airways. That is why I'm requesting that the Energy and Commerce Committee launch a formal congressional inquiry into the National Football League and NBC immediately for their prior knowledge, deliberate approval, and facilitation of this indecent broadcast. American culture will not be mocked or corrupted without consequence. What a threatening and dystopian sentence for a government official to write. You will not mock or corrupt our culture without consequences from the government. Sir, it's called free speech. It's called a free society. And you don't have to like Bad Bunny. You could think his performance was terrible, but the government does not get to punish people who dare mock American culture, if that's even what you think he did, or dare corrupt it in ways that make Andy Ogles feel uncomfy in his private parts. I don't know. It's like, you sound insanely censorious, and like, you will not mock the government without consequences. Sir, did you forget what country we're in? Because it's giving North Korea. Like, it's not giving America. And you're saying he's anti-American. I certainly think some of Bad Bunny's political views are very extreme, far left, and yeah, anti-American. But so is what you're saying, my dude. And also, like, you just lied. You said that this is, again, quoting from his post. The performance's lyrics openly glorified sodomy and countless other unspeakable depravities. These flagrant indecent acts are illegal to be displayed on public airways. Stop lying. The parts of the song that talk about these things were not broadcast. Okay, those verses were not a part of the performance. You can go read, and I did this morning, again, the translated version of Bad Bunny, and there's some F words that I think he didn't pronounce. There's some references to sex. There's some references to dick and other things, but there's absolutely no reference to sodomy or the other unspeakable depravities that he references. So you are just lying while accusing American citizens of crimes and calling for them to be investigated. It is not too much to ask that you do basic due diligence to establish the facts before accusing people publicly and demanding the feds investigate them. And all of this is so unserious, so amateur hour, so clownish, so poorly done and poorly thought out that it is embarrassing for the American people and the Republican Party specifically to have these snowflake Karen Republicans crashing out over a somewhat suggestive halftime show, blatantly lying about its contents and demanding that the government step in to protect people from seeing something as if they're helpless victims who couldn't change the channel or watch something else like the Turning Point Alternative if they don't want their family to see this. And all of it is such a profound betrayal. They're openly saying you won't mock American culture without government consequences of everything Republicans are supposed to care about when it comes to free speech and a free society. Other than that, though, these guys are doing amazing. God, I hate it here sometimes. What do you guys think? Are you crashing out like I'm crashing out a little bit today? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed. And that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad versus Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk again real soon.